though evolution has been refining and decreasing in size up to our present day. Even over 4 million years ago, when the final destruction of Lemuria occurred, just before the first Atlantean destruction, there were still very large giants. Indeed, the statues of Easter Island that are about 30 feet or 10 meters high are representative of the height of the giants of that time.
Now you know the truth.
Of all the mammalians, man is the only one whom science does not allow to have dwarfed down like all other animal frames. A decrease in size is allowed from the dinosaurs to the present-day reptiles, but not for man. This is partly due to the so-called lack of evidence of physical skeletons, because of factors such as the action of sand on the ocean floor upon bones, or that cremation was universal up to 100,000 years ago. This will also be explored in depth later in this series. Because such a small time period of 6,000 to 10,000 years for human development has been assigned by contemporary science, it does not allow sufficient time to entertain the idea that giant humans gradually decreased in size over a period of millions of years in parallel with the reptile kingdom. In other words, in Lemurian times, humans were about the height of dinosaurs. Over the past 20 million years, reptiles and humans have decreased to the size they are today.
So the Hidden History of Humanity project seeks to document and visit many sites around the world where these relics and artifacts remain of ancient civilizations, such as Tiahuanaco in South America, Cuzco in Peru, Easter Island, the ancient ruins of Greece, and many ruins around the Mediterranean. They're extent across the whole planet. In fact, this architecture is called Cyclopean pentagonal architecture, which are odd-sized blocks, but quite often with 5 sides, fitting perfectly into one another and creating earthquake-proof walls and buildings. And so we have many instances of ruins extend around the world that have this kind of architecture.
Those are earthquake-proof. You heard them. So they have the technology to make our houses like that, but they don't.
Look like they've been built by giants, and in fact part of the Hidden History of Humanity project looks at the evolution of the human form from giants down to the size that we are today. And in fact these giants built, in fact we were talking about Cyclopean architecture, we're talking about the Cyclops, the legendary giants with the one eye. And these giants did exist back in Lemurian times, and actually physically man-handled these enormous blocks that weighed many tons into position.
The Titans of old and the Cyclops, legendary three-eyed mortals, belong to the 4th Atlantean root race. All their subsequent legends and allegories are found in the Hindu Puranas, the Greek myths, and Homer, based upon hazy reminiscences of real Titans, men of superhuman, tremendous physical power, which enabled them to defend themselves and hold at bay gigantic monsters of the geological Mesozoic and early Cenozoic times.
In the mythology of the ancient Cyclops, the 3 giants with one eye are said to represent the last 3 subraces of that newly conscious Lemurian race. At the peak of physical development in Atlantis, they have been described as towering giants of godly strength and beauty, and the depositaries of all the mysteries of heaven and earth. The giants of both Lemuria and Atlantis were able to build large structures and lift enormously heavy slabs of stone, but also had at their disposal technologies that allowed stones weighing many tons to be lifted effortlessly. An imperishable record about the gradual evolution of the races has been left for us in the Banian statues of Afghanistan. They were created during the Atlantean flood, when initiate adepts of Atlantis were taking refuge in the Central Asian mountains. The 5 different sizes of these statues are said to represent the height of the 5 root races in their enormous early etheric stages and in their later still gigantic and then smaller physical development.
The civilizations in Lemuria and Atlantis also had access to technologies based upon sound that was able to create a vacuum and lift these blocks effortlessly. These blocks that weigh many tons, or to transport them from many miles away to their particular site, such as Stonehenge is a good example of this. And in many of the mythological stories in South America, in the Celtic countries of Europe, we find very similar stories of a magician or a sorcerer who transported these stones from many miles away effortlessly through the air. The transport of these stones may seem like a magical process to us, but to those who had the knowledge, it was simply about rendering the atoms within these stones weightless, and this is the science of magic. It's important for humanity to understand their true origins because we really don't know. Most people do not think about history. They have a vague sort of idea that we came from somewhere, came from apes usually. This is what is taught in high school.
Which is a lie.
And we evolved from apes somehow into human beings. Well, the secret doctrine states the opposite, that in fact apes were a byproduct of human evolution that went wrong at one stage back in Lemurian times. It was not part of the planned evolution. These beings, the so-called narrow-headed, I think Blavatsky gives one term, bred with animals that created monsters, all sorts of hybrids that were unintended for the evolutionary goal. Apes of today are descendants from
those are the
monsters
Bigfoots. They're still alive, some of them. They evolved into the Bigfoots, guys. Now you know who the Bigfoots really are.
According to occult doctrine, humans bred with animals in Lemuria, creating an unnatural and unplanned linking. The hybrid
Look at
monsters
Bigfoot.
created were the ancestors of our modern apes. At individualization, certain groups of souls refused to incarnate because they regarded the bodies at their disposal as too coarse. They were ultimately responsible for the groups of humans that caused this evolutionary anomaly, the so-called sin of the mindless. The modern-day orangutan is a peculiarly human reminder of that ancient transgression, and today, these apes are getting much publicity because their habitats are being destroyed in Indonesia through rainforest logging. When the unplanned inbreeding occurred with animals, the celestial guides immediately struck some groups with sterility in order to halt that which was not in the program of the divine plan.
And there are beings that live in the Middle Earth that are half human and half animal.
Can we imagine
That's how
if
they
this one
came
fact
to
of
be
secret sciences
now.
was considered? That apes
Now you
were
know.
created by humans breeding with animals? What a dramatic revolution in consciousness would take place in how humanity views itself. Currently, in educational institutions, a 5,000 to 10,000 year history of the human race is